Andariki Namaskaramulu. Today we are going to have another lecture from Dr Malladi Srinivasa Sastry garu. We had a lecture about 2 weeks back and another lecture 4 weeks back. I will introduce him briefly for the people who have meeting him for the first time. Today the topic is what qualification Arjuna has to have Vishwarupa Darshan. So that is the topic. Now let us start with Vande Mataram and then Prarthana. I will recite Vande Mataram and then Saugandhi ji will chant Prarthana. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayaj Sitalam, Sasyamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Subrajosna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Trumadala Sobhini, Subhashini, Sumadurabhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Now I request Saugandhi ji to chant Prarthana, please. Saugandhi ji. Any problem?
Kanalji, I'll just call her once. गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुरेव गतिर्गुरुमेव भजे गुरुणैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे। न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोः मतिरस्ति गुरौ मम पाहि गुरो। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ स्वस्ति।
ధన్యవాదములండి సుగంధి గారు. Now let us welcome Dr. Malladi Srinivasa Sastry garu, who is the speaker for today. He has been taking classes, webinars for us. Last year also he took, this year also he took. I briefly introduce him. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr. Malladi Srinivasa Sastry garu. He is a practicing psychiatrist with work experience in UK, Singapore and India. Dr. Malladi is a Karyakarta of Samskruti Bharati, which is an organization that teaches Sanskrit. He conducts spoken Sanskrit workshops and also teaches the 4-level exam-oriented courses of Samskruti Bharati. Dr. Malladi is the founder of Soham Vidya, which is a platform to impart spiritual knowledge for holistic wellness and social welfare NGO based on principles of Sanatana Dharma. It is called Hindu Mitra Seva Foundation. He has been researching on application of ancient spiritual knowledge in daily life and designed courses such as Discover Yourself, Discover Your Inner Potential. He had conducted several webinars on Bring Out the Best in You, on the Sanatana Dharma way, and the range of topics like that. He has MA in Sanskritam from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, and had completed the certificate and gold medal level of the year-long course on memorization and pronunciation of Bhagavad Gita slokas conducted by Sri Datta Peetham of Mysore. And it is a privilege to have you with us today to take the webinar. We welcome you, Srinivasa Sastry garu. Please take over and conduct the webinar, please.
Thank you so much, Colonel Garu and Sri Prabhakar Rao Garu. Thank you once again for inviting me to be part of this very wise gathering. And I'm always kind of happy to come back here, where I have an open invitation to provide my inputs. I don't want to call lectures, but whatever my understanding I present it in my own way. And not having the Shastra foundation that I would have loved to have had from a younger time from a, let's say, Gurukula kind of a fashion of education, it is left to me to now do some swadhyaya and learn and use my professional judgment coming from a medical background and objective in my assessment of matters. I would really hope to kind of do justice to the topics I pick up. And today's topic is something which came to my mind while I was reading through Bhagavad Gita. Why was even Arjuna an eligible candidate for Vishwarupa Darshana? Why not somebody else? Or why not? We will look at it. We'll look at really, does Arjuna qualify for a very special moment like that? So to begin with, let's look at this picture here, where it is very clear that they are all sadhakas. And the sadhakas obviously are doing different types of their practice. One possibly is doing yajna, another is possibly doing their own kind of puja. Some may be doing very strict kind of penance in the form of severe, very difficult yogasanas and maybe severe fasting. And why do they do that? They are all in search of the divine. They are all actually kind of want to be near the divine. And naturally, they should be the eligible candidates for something like Vishwarupa Darshana. Now, that begs the question as to what about people in these kind of different roles? Are they eligible for Vishwarupa Darshana or even to think of being close to divine? Now, naturally, if one was to be asked a question, who among these would be the eligible candidates? Surely we would be thinking that one who is always thinking of the God, the sadhu and the sadhakas that we have already spoken about, should be the ones who are really eligible. But strangely enough, it is the warrior who has been picked up for the Vishwarupa Darshana. And I'm not saying that he's the only one. I'm sure there are several others as well. But how come a warrior who has a weapon in his hand and is only going to kind of use that weapon to kill people, ascend the throne and rule kingdom, it makes it quite an interesting choice, isn't it? And no wonder there are people in the world who would say that Bhagavad Gita is a violent text, or it actually proposes violence. That's obviously they're looking at the framework that somehow spirituality and religion is about peace, and God should actually only talk about peace and love. And this particular text seems to be saying that go ahead, Krishna, Arjuna, get up, do your duty, fight your war. So this is a very strange choice that we are seeing. Now, understandably, we will need to really do an appraisal of whether this soldier called Arjuna actually fits the bill in being able to see the Divya Darshana of Sri Krishna. So the story goes off as we'll pick up from here. Manyase yadi tachakyam maya drashtamiti prabho yogeshvara tato me tvam darshayatmanam avyayam. Arjuna is obviously this is the Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, the 11th chapter. And in that, by then, Arjuna has already kind of paid due respect to the knowledge that was imparted by Krishna. And he is now asking very sincerely, if it is possible, Krishna, if at all it is possible, and if you feel that I am a deserving candidate, can I have a look at what your cosmic form is? It's a humble request. I mean, we are all allowed to make requests. But then Krishna says, Pashyame partha rupani satashota sahasrasah nana vidhani divyani nana varna kritini cha. And he grants it just like that. Okay, go ahead. Have a look. Have a look at my various forms. And he goes ahead to show to Arjuna. So that tells us at least that there was something in Arjuna that Krishna felt as requiring required eligibility criteria to go ahead and show himself the very divya form that he would have not shown to anybody else. Now, understandably, all those who are really kind of offering penance and dedicated their lives day in and day out are going to say that's unfair. And that's not fair. Krishna, that's not fair. How can you do this? Now, this guy, all he does is pick up weapons, goes around and killing people, fighting wars. And we, on the other hand, we are actually thinking of peace of the world. And we are always thinking of you. And sometimes we have situations where people change religions as well, like this lady, for instance, sitting with this book. I figured out that my God was not enough. I've changed to another religion as well, picked up another book, picked up another God. I'm doing so many different things to reach you, and it's not fair. So, and that's where we need to start looking at what makes it interesting for our dear Arjuna to be able to demand the position to be able to see the Vishwarupa Darshana. So to begin with, we'll look at him as a student. In the second adhyaya, he says, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me sishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. So here Arjuna declares himself as Krishna's humble student. And by then, we know that he had such real errors of judgment, which we could see through the first adhyaya, Vishada Yoga. And then in the beginning of the Sankhya Yoga as well, we see him really lose out the plot. He says so many things which are indicative of the depressed mind, the anxious mind that he has. He was very quick to kind of even make remarks such as, I'm going to let go of the Kshatriya Dharma and I will take up something like a Brahmana Dharma and beg alms rather than occupy that blood-stained throne, having killed my own Acharya and Bhishma. Katham Bhishmamaham Sankhye Dronancha Madhusudana. He says, Ishubhih Pratiyotsyami Pujar Havarisudana. And then thereafter, he talks about how he doesn't wish to do his duty of a Kshatriya. He wants to let go of it. Now that's the last thing that one would do to disgrace themselves. And that was the level of depressed state he was in. And earlier we know how he was trembling. His hand was trembling. His dhanu was actually falling off. His throat was parched, looking at his own people there. So he lost perspective altogether. And he would make the worst case scenario, worst case as in, if this is going to happen, our families are going to be rotten, the women will be going down the wrong path, and our pitrus are going to fall down. And he just goes on in a kind of a ranting exercise, completely losing control of his own senses and his intellect. But he now understands. I think he's by now, he's realized that he's made an error of judgment. There's something wrong. I'm not right. I need help. And that's the humble state of the student, where he's now requesting Krishna to offer him the guidance. And that's a very important state of a student, to be able to be receptive of truth, surrender to the Guru, and then be that sponge which can actually kind of soak all that water and absorb the knowledge. So thereafter, he would, one good thing about Arjuna is that if you notice at various stages of Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't shy away from asking difficult questions. In 4th Adhyaya, he says, Aparambhavato janma paranjanma vivashvataha katham etadvijaniyantu madho proktavaniti. He challenges Krishna, because suddenly Krishna says, you know what, I've actually taught Vaishwanara, then Vaishwanara to Aditya and so on. I mean, then the Ikshvakus and so on and so forth. And then he says, hang on, I see you in front of me. How is it possible that you have taught all these people? He's not shying away from asking complicated questions. And then he also says, please don't confuse me with these two paths that you are talking about, karma and jnana yoga. Pick one and tell me which one is going to be useful for me. So this is the quality of a student, where not only is he very keen to learn, he's observing well, and he's also courageous enough to ask the right questions. And of course, our guru has to be also in the same position where they're not feeling offended for being asked questions. Isn't it sad that nowadays our education system doesn't allow this kind of a relation between a student and a guru, where a teacher feels threatened by being asked a question and the student always is afraid of asking questions? It is really sad. So Arjuna here is not afraid of asking questions. He is only kind of interested in seeking the truth. So what are the qualities of a perfect student we would want to see? So there should be the jignasa, the curiosity to learn more, the new truth. There should be the sharanagati, the complete surrender. There should be shraddha, the dedication to the scriptures, the teachers, to be able to receive knowledge and ask questions which are relevant. There should be that uparati, the forbearance, in order to absorb the knowledge. And then putting the jnanam into practice, vijnanam, jnanam vijnana sahitam. Put it into practice. It's pointless be becoming paper tigers. And again, I have to kind of be very critical of the current education system we have. We are producing theoretical kind of, sorry to say, theoretical stupids. We're not practical wise men. We are theoretical stupids. And that's not good, because the amount of research we do is minuscule. If we don't do primary research, we are not going to be leaders. We'll always be followers. We'll always be employed, not employer. There's a huge difference in how the kind of education imparted may make you either a follower or a leader. Okay, so we should have, a student should be able to put things into practice. Jnanam should be able to share the knowledge and should be able to dedicate time to practice, have the obedience and trust and surrender and ability to unlearn and learn. Unlearning is an important aspect. A lot of times we are prejudiced because we are holding on to the obsolete kind of information. It's no more relevant and we are holding on to it. only learning is possible when you are unlearning the things which are no more required. So Arjuna, as a student, we know that, of course, I must admit that I haven't read Mahabharata yet. And when I say Mahabharata, I haven't read Vyasa Mahabharata, I haven't read it yet. So my apologies, as my ignorance can easily be tested there. But Arjuna, as a student, we know that with Dronacharya, I did a bit of research on that aspect. So what I understand is that Arjuna was ready to give up his ego, and he had no mental blocks to learn. So the unlearning and learning, he was keen to learn and would surrender to his teacher with humility. And Dronacharya started to like him, seeing his devotion for his guru. Arjuna was also apparently somebody who had the mumukshatvam and jignasa in pursuit of truth. Of course, we know through Bhagavad Gita itself, all these things, we don't need to go beyond. There is the Sharanagati, and there is the Bhakti Bhava as well in him. And when his guru taught him something, he never stopped practicing it until he perfected it. We're talking about the young Arjuna. And we also spoke about the Jnana Vijnana. He was very knowledge and the application. He was very disciplined and possessed all the qualities of the mind that we generally talk about, like Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and so on. And he was a person of right discrimination and dispassion. So he was able to utilize the intellect in a way for right discrimination of the knowledge with vairagya, or the dispassion. Now, it seems like a long list of impossibles, immediately putting us to a state of defeat. Oh, okay, fine. Looks like Arjuna is very different to all of us. So let's not even compete for the idea of expecting Krishna to show up in front of us. Well, he's not going to just show up like that in front of me or anybody else, just like that. We have to be Arjuna at the end of the day to be able to do that. But is Arjuna much different to us? Not really, because he is like any other human. He also had his own fair share of ups and downs. He has his own emotions. He has his own weaknesses. But there are all these qualities that we are talking about which make him the eligible student. So we should be in a position to, if we want to be the Arjuna, like in that picture that that slide I have shared, we had a teacher, we had a lawyer, we had a warrior. A lawyer can also have Vishwarupa Darshana by the logics of this. A teacher can have, or a coolie can have, So anybody can have a Vishwarupa Darshana, provided we see the elements of it. So we're trying to appraise what are those elements in Arjuna that made him eligible. So one is the student, the angle of the student, that he had definitely qualified from a student's point of view to be able to at least receive the knowledge. Even if not Vishwarupa Darshana, he was eligible to be given the knowledge. So naturally, Krishna tutored him who was dejected and confused. And he did so with love, patience, and clarity in his the absolute knowledge. If you look at Bhagavad Gita carefully, it is the best part I like about Bhagavad Gita is its emphasis on Nishchaya Buddhi, the precision in decision-making ability. For me, everything else may be learned, fair enough. I mean, there are other important things. But for me, the take-home message is, if you have understood, learn to be steadfast in your approach. And you need to stick to dharma versus adharma. You need to stick to the right thing that you believe is the truth. And that's the biggest lesson for me, for sure. So he explained the absolute truth of his, Arjuna's, and everyone's existence. Again, this comes from the second adhyaya, right? Natveva aham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha. na chaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayamatoh param. Neither you, Arjuna, neither me, all these kings who are around here, there was never a time when we were not there, and there will never be a time in future when we will not be there. We always exist is the meaning of it. So he gave him the knowledge of the absolute existence. He then imparted the concepts of Swadharma, his own dharma. Shreyan Swadharma Vigunaha, we know that shloka. Through that Paradharma, we were earlier talking, Arjuna, about giving up your Kshatriya dharma and going and becoming a Bhikshuka and so on. Sorry, mate, that's not going to happen. That is you going a treacherous path of accepting Paradharma. Swadharma, even if it is flawed, you have to carry on with it. Paradharma, even if it is the greatest that you can see as of now, is not for you. So he's given that kind of a knowledge as well. He's given him the concept of what is a yajna, any deed that is done with utmost sincerity and steadfast ability. And he talks about jnana karma and so on, right? So he being the student, the Arjuna being the student, he was happy to share all this knowledge. So to nurture and intensify Arjuna's devotion, Sri Krishna had described his divine manifestations or vibhutis. So that happens in the 10th adhyaya, isn't it? Where he actually kind of, Arjuna asks him the questions, and then he says, Hantate kathayishyami divya hyatma vibhutayah. So he then goes on narrating his various vibhutis. By then he hasn't still shown his divya swarupa, but is given all the descriptions, what he is. He mentions that all the beauty, glory, and power is just a spark of his immeasurable splendor. So hearing this, Arjuna becomes very curious. And that is when in the 11th adhyaya, he asks, Madanugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma sanyitam yatva yoktam vachastena mohoyam vikato mama. So in that, he goes on and then says, Manye seyadita chakyam maya drashtamiti prabho yogeshwara tato metvam darshayatmanam avyayam. So we have seen this in the beginning. I've followed the Gandhi movie style. If people have, you remember watching Gandhi. In Gandhi movie, the climax scene is the beginning of the movie, and then the movie goes on. So that's the style I'm employing here. I have employed the climax scene was in the beginning of my presentation, and then we carried on thereafter. So yeah, so by now Arjuna, being a sincere student, he received all the knowledge. Having used his viveka and nischaya buddhi, he accepted the knowledge as the truth. So by 11th adhyaya, he's already accepted the knowledge. The confused Arjuna that he was in the first adhyaya, he's then heard of Atma Vidya. He then heard of Swadharma. He then heard of the Jnana and Karma Yoga, Karma Sannyasa, everything. So having understood all that, he is now kind of able to exercise his Viveka and Nischaya Buddhi, and has accepted the truth, and with humility, he is now requesting if he is fit to be shown Vishwarupa. And of course, Sri Krishna obliges, and he says, Pashyame partharupani shatashota sahasrashaha nana vidhani divyani nana varna kritini cha. But he doesn't stop there, because Arjuna is a mere mortal. He needs the divya chakshu. So therefore, Sri Krishna says, Natumam shakyase drashtum anena eva svachakshusha divyam dadamite chakshuha pashyame yogam aishwaram. You won't be able to see me just like that. Basically, you need to go beyond the mortal experience and bring out your, you can't bring out, I will give you those kind of cosmic senses for you to be able to experience me, and he thereafter experiences. So why was he given Divya Chakshu? Naturally, he is considered to be the eligible candidate. We'll look at another perspective why Arjuna would have been eligible to be qualified to have the Vishwarupa Darshana. So first one we have seen as a student. Now we'll see Arjuna the instrument. Okay. The instrument aspect comes in various forms. We know perhaps it begins with, again in the second Adhyaya, where Nishkama Karma is taught. And in Nishkama Karma, I consider Nishkama Karma shloka, the Karmanyevadhikaraste, as a 4-part equation. It is a formula. And there are 4 components of that formula. And that is, of course, just to repeat, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahetur bhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. So there are 4 components. Karmani eva adhikaraha tava. So your right and responsibility is only in fulfilling the duty you are supposed to do. Ma phaleshu kadachana, second part of the equation. Not in the fruit of it, not in the fruit of the action. You have no right on that. Ma karma phala hetuhu bhuhu. Neither do you should you be thinking that you are the reason for the initiating the karma. No, that's not the case. And you may be now thinking, my goodness, you are making my life so difficult. You're saying I should do the duty, but I am not supposed to enjoy the fruit. Neither should I be taunting myself that I am the one because of whom this act is being done. If I have nothing to gain, I'm not going to do anything. I'll just sit without doing anything. So that's the fourth part of the equation, which is that akarma is not allowed. Ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. Mate sangostva karmani. Mate sangaha astu akarmani. You cannot be attached to the akarma. So which means that I have no choice but to keep doing my duties. How do you do those duties? You need to be able to do it with a vairagya bhava. You need to be able to be dispassionate. And where would the dispassionate approach come? I often quote this example. I have written it in my blog as well. Imagine you are a pen. Okay, you are a pen. The pen, forget about a pen. Actually, I will take a ladle, the dharvi, the garita, and I'm a pachaka. I'm the cook. Now, this dharvi, it goes into very hot soup, very hot vegetable curry that you are making. It's not going to feel the heat, right? It's not going to fear the heat. It just carries on with what it is designed to do. But is it going to taste the result of it, the sweet kind of nice tasting curry? The cook is the one who is going to taste it, and the dharvi is not, the ladle is not going to taste it at all. There is nothing for that ladle to gain, but it still does its job perfectly. Every time that it is introduced, every time it is inserted into mixing the curry, throwing the curry up and down in that vessel, it does perfectly, exactly the same way it is designed to do every time, dispassionately. Now, the other best part is that it does not have the memory. Oh, previously this guy used me and he has not paid any kind of respect for me. It has no memory of it. It yet again goes back doing the same thing. So no emotions attached. There is no memory baggage for it. And that is how an instrument functions. And imagine if you are the instrument where you don't have the past memories to haunt you. Oh, that guy treated me like that, therefore I'm not going to be nice to him. No, that memory is not there if you are an instrument. So this is too cold, this is too hot. Oh, I don't want to be unsuccessful. None of those trouble if when you are an instrument. You are just doing as you are expected to or designed to do. I was on the side. I was basically trying to make a case that Sri Krishna believed obviously that Arjuna would be that instrument, is capable of being that instrument. And he says, get up, Arjuna, enough of all this nonsense. I'm not going to be here listening to your stories because they are all immaterial. It doesn't matter to me. All it matters is you are a capable instrument who is not going to waver with emotions and memories of what has happened, what is going to happen, no doubts of what is going to happen, none of that. You are just an instrument. How is that? Maya eva ete nihataha purvameva. By they have been killed by me already. So it's already been done. Nimittamatram bhava. Hey Sabhyasachin. You only have to become the instrument, that's it. Nothing else. Your job is no more. Your job description is pick up your arrows, keep shooting them. That's it. No emotions attached. No focus on the result. Not to think that you are the one who is doing it. So here we tie in both. The Nishkama Karma is the Nimitta Bhava, Nimitta role, wherein we've already looked at what Nishkama Karma Shloka Karmanya Vadhikaraste, and it meets in nicely here. Or your job is to just pick up arrows and keep shooting. That's it. I've already done the job for you. The result is me. And the reason why you're going to do this is me, and it's not you. All right. So Arjuna was definitely eligible to be an instrument. And therefore, that is the second part. So as I explained to you, an instrument is something which doesn't feel the pain. Look at the hammer, for instance. I mean, if I was to hit something with my fist, I keep thumping, I feel the pain. I can use the same thing like a hammer and keep kind of knocking on a nail, and you know what's going to happen. I'm going to have a bruise and it's going to hurt. But the hammer is not going to experience any of that pain. Neither does it get bored or I'm going to be banged again against this nail. No emotions attached. And the hammer is not responsible for the hammering. It is me who is holding it and hammering it. And the instrument, the hammer is just going to, it's a jada padartha, it is just lying there unless it is picked up. So it is not the initiator. And there are no expectations. And it doesn't have memories. It's not designed to accumulate experiences and store them. It is just designed for the purpose. This is the way we need to approach duties. And Bhagavad Gita teaches us to be that, where we can be dispassionate. This is what is being dispassionate about going about doing duties. One may say doing things robotically. Yes, absolutely. Why not? If you want to follow Nishkama Karma, then it is going to be robotic in that sense. But do we not experience the pains and pleasures and range of emotions? We will. Rama has experienced that. Rama also had to go through those emotions, although he was cognitively able to process all that. So every one of us will be not exactly robotic, but the idea is to, as much as possible, be experiencing to be an instrument, while we still have those kind of little bits of emotions playing up as well. The third part we're going to see is Arjuna as a friend. Sakheti matva prasabham yaduktam he Krishna he Yadava he sakheti ajanata mahimanam tavedam maya pramadat pranayena vapi. We know that Arjuna and Krishna have been good friends, and at least from Bhagavad Gita, we know what's the kind of relation that they have had going through few of these shlokas. It is when we are good friends, we love each other. And that unconditional love in itself is the qualification. I'm there for you in your tough times. I'm there for you when you need me to correct you, to put you in the right direction, to stop you from doing wrong things. Because I love you unconditionally. And that's the quality of a friend. And this friend may not even be thinking in the lines of, am I going to get moksha out of it? He's just doing his part. Okay. Here, Arjuna definitely qualifies to be a great friend. And when he is a friend, when somebody is a friend, they both make jokes on each other. They're not formal. They're very informal. That's the level of freedom that they have with each other. So that's what we see here. Sakha iti matva prasabham yaduktam. He Krishna, he Yadava, he Sakha iti. Ajanata mahimanam tava idam maya pramadat pranayena va api. By accident or due to friendship, I have said so many things unknowingly. Granted, took you granted to be a friend. Yachabahasartamasatkrutosi vihara shayyasana bhojaneshu ekothavaapyachat taksamaksham takshamaye tvamaham aprameyam. And I may have ridiculed you, I may have been discourteous with you. Where was it? Vihara, shayya. When we were sleeping, or when we were going out for a little bit of an entertaining tour or something, or when we are eating together, bhojaneshu, ekaha, in isolation or in front of people. So definitely I have said so many things. I would have said so many things, because why is Arjuna saying all these things now? Suddenly he realized that the one he thought was Krishna, his friend, is actually the cosmic being. And now he's kind of lost. I've taken him for granted all this while as a friend. I think I should really definitely express my sincere apologies for having mistaken you as my friend. No, that's actually not a mistake. It is a great occasion for Krishna himself to be treated like a friend in a very impartial fashion. Then he says, Tasmat pranamya pranidhayaka yam prasadayet vamahamishamidhyam piteva putrasya sakheva sakyaho priyah priyaya arhasi deva sodhum. So I have done whatever mistakes I have done. Please pardon me, just like how a father would do so to his son, a friend would do so to his friend, or a lover would do so to his lover. Just pardon me for my mistakes. Okay. So it gives us a flavor of what has gone on between Arjuna and Krishna. From these shlokas, we can infer the kind of relation that they have had together. The beautiful friendship, the love that they shared for each other, unconditional love. And that's possibly for me the best part. Student is one thing. Student, I can impart knowledge. Instrument, yes, I can prepare you for to be an instrument. This friendship and love beats everything. And that is the icing on the cake. So qualities of a friend, what are those qualities? We can look at Bhartrhari Subhashitam to be able to understand the true qualities of a friend. Papan nivarayati yojayati hitaya guhyam niguhati gunan prakatikaroti apadgatam chana jahati dadati kale sanmitra lakshanamidam pravadanti santaha. Papan nivarayati, it stops you from doing bad deeds. Yojayate hitaya, encourages you to do the right things. Guhyam niguhati, he keeps your secrets. Confidentiality, for instance, in our psychiatric terminology, we talk about confidentiality. Patient information is confidential. We don't share it with anybody. Gunan prakati karoti. If there are good qualities, he is so happy to share with the world. Apadgatam chana jahati. When it is tough times, he would not let go of him. He will be there steadfast. Dadati kale, gives you time. Sanmitra lakshanam iti pravadanti santaha. So I'm sure these are the true qualities that Arjuna was kind of bestowing upon in his relation with Sri Krishna, his friend. But by now, Arjuna is quite afraid of what he was seeing because he's not seeing his friend anymore. Now, this is again such a beautiful way to express his friendship. He wants to see his friend. He's missing his friend. The Vishwarupa Darshana is one thing, but there the friend isn't there. There the divine, the cosmic being is to be seen. But he's now wanting his friend back. The one with his 2 arms or the 4 arms that he talks about. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichhamitvam drashtumaham tathaiva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhava vishwamurte. I want my friend back. The one who holds the gadha, the one who has the kirita, and one who has the chakra. I want to see him. The one who has those 4 arms. Now, don't ask me why 4 arms. The experts may explain what 4 arms is supposed to be for a normal human being, but I'll leave it as that is what for Arjuna is normal. And he's happy with what he has seen. Oh Lord, one with the 1,000 arms, please come back. I want to see my old friend again. And when he comes back, that is when he's giving us some clues how Arjuna was in fact chosen to be given the Vishwarupa Darshana. And he starts off saying, who hasn't been able to. Na Veda Yajñadhyayana Irnadanaihi na Chakriya Bhirna Tapopi Rugraihi Evam Rupa Shakya Hamnu Loke Drashtum Tadanyena Kurupravira. Veda Yajñaha, those who have been doing Veda Dhyayana, those who have been doing Dana and so on, or who have been doing a lot of kind of penance and everything. None of them have been able to kind of get this opportunity. Okay, so there we get a clue. Why did they not get this opportunity? Perhaps there's something missing. So this is where those who obviously are going to kind of feel upset. This is not fair, Krishna. If our efforts are in vain, should we stop doing all these things then? or what is it that we need to do on top of what we are doing to be able to have a glimpse of your Vishwarupa? So that's a fair question to conclude upon if we have to understand how the meaning of the earlier shloka. Na veda yajna dhyayanairna danaihi na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugrahi evam rupa shakya ahamru loke drashtum tadanyena kuru pravira. Nobody else is able to get this opportunity and you got it. So clearly we need to ask a question. What else are we supposed to do? Are we actually doing it wrong is one question. Or is there something else we need to do on top of it? Is the second question we need to surely be asking. Because if those who are actually already kind of doing penance and Veda Adhyayana and so on and so forth, they themselves don't stand a chance, surely the rest of us who are getting on with our day-to-day lives don't stand a chance either. But if there are secret ingredients, Bhagavad Gita tells us what the secret ingredients are. Sudurdarshamidam rupam drishtavanasi yanmama deva apyasya rupasya nityam darshana kangshinaha. Again goes back to saying even the devatas are very eager to see it, even they are unable to. So we need to be guided by Sri Krishna himself as to what is it. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahamevam vidorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Only with undeterred love towards me will I be revealed. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. Ananyaya bhaktya. Without any kind of distraction, steadfast bhakti. Ahamevam vidaha Arjuna. So you would only be able to get me through ananya bhakti. Jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Only through that will you be able to know me, see me, realize me, enter me, merge into me. So the secret ingredient is bhakti. And we can also call bhakti as prema or sneha, whatever it may be called. In one of the commentaries by Sri Bhashyam Appalacharya Garu, he says that the same prema, if it is between a mother and a child, is vatsalya. Between two friends is sneha. Between a wife and a husband is rati. And between bhakta and paramatma is bhakti. It is the same ingredient. It has to be paripakva. It should be really ripe and unconditional for it to be able to yield result. Matkarma krunmat paramaha madbhakta sangha varjitaha nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yassamameti pandava. He now gives a formula as to how one can actually practice their adhyatmika sadhana to be able to reach him. Mat karma krit mat paramaha. Duties to be done for me. The rejoicing should be everything as if it is done for me. Mad bhaktaha, again devoted to me. Sangavarjitaha, detached, dispassionate, vairagya bhava. Nirvairaha, one who has no enemies. Again, basically the dvandvatita. No enemy, no friend. It's not just about enemy. No enemy, no friend. You should be able to go beyond. Sarva bhuteshu, among all the pranis. Yaha saha mam eti pandava. Whoever is that person will get me, will reach me. We need to be very true to the word of Bhagavad Gita. There is no but. If and but is not to be entertained here. This is a formula that has to be practiced for Adhyatmika sadhana. If moksha is our goal, surely this is how it should be practiced. So do things surrendering to me. Nishkama karma. Antar aramaha, antas sukhaha. Everything has to be done with an intention that you are content within yourself, not looking for entertainment outside, not looking for happiness outside. You should be able to do it with a full degree of ability to rejoice within. Within is what? Your Atma. Your Atma is the Paramatma. And Mad Bhaktaha. You need to be, again, surrendered, Sharanagati. Nirvaira, we have already, it's not complicated. It is to be practiced. It has to be practiced. So all these things are the universal spiritual values which Sanatana Dharma represents. And these have to be practiced without any doubt in mind. And that is where the Nishchaya Buddhi again comes back into play. So Venkat ji has raised his hand. I'll just come to you in a minute. So we have seen Arjuna the student, Arjuna the instrument, Arjuna the friend, and Arjuna the seeker. These have to be kind of seen as the eligibility or the qualifications for him to be able to have the Vishwarupa Darshana. I would not hesitate to say that Krishna obviously had some partiality towards Arjuna. But that same partiality is not to be taken as a bias. In the larger scheme of things, Arjuna was chosen to be the one through which he is delivering this message. And Arjuna is not just fortunate, he's designed to be in that situation. He's designed to be his friend. But we are learning few things there. To this Paramatma can be my friend. I can actually treat him like a friend. And I often say this. We often do lots of pujas. And in the puja, we may be saying, please give me, please make sure my family is taken care of. Please make sure that I have I get a job soon, or I'm going to pass my exams. That's not friendship. Or it's a one-way traffic. A true friendship is just simply bowing down and saying, Paramatma, how are you today? Are you okay? Well, that is friendship. That is love. This has to be inculcated. Otherwise, it's a one-way traffic, transactional kind of nature of relationship, which is not friendship. So there itself, we fail the test. So we are learning what friendship is, what love is, what that unconditional love is. And it is all demonstrated in these 2-3 shlokas in the 11th chapter itself of the relation between Arjuna and Krishna. And I feel personally that is the biggest part of this equation why he was able to receive that grace from Paramatma himself, apart from various other aspects. Let me break here for a while and I will take questions or any comments. Yes, Venkatji. You raised your hand, CNS
Yes, sir.
2020.
Yes, sir. Sir. Good evening, sir. Dr. Garu. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, your lecture was marvelous. But one small question was raising in my mind. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah. Right from the childhood, when I was taught about the Mahabharata chapters from my mother, I was just wondering why God has fixed the ending of universe with war rather than taking the other parts of it, love, compassion, affection. He could have changed the Kauravas in a other mode also, but he has never chosen it. That is the first question, sir. Second point is, could it be the base for the civilization to pick the right is might, or might is right rather than. So all this war clashes, egos, if nots, likes and dislikes has erupted, and now at this point of time, when we think about the becoming a moksha patra, how can we correlate things? That is my simple, humble request, sir.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, actually. I mean, I'm glad that you articulated it well. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert on Mahabharata. I've already made the disclaimer because I have not read Vyasa Mahabharata. I'm making progress gradually, but yeah. But let me make an attempt to understand the larger scheme of things. The more and more I look at the world and understand the complexities of it, I keep saying that violence has and will always be part of Srishti. A Srishti without violence is unimaginable. A volcano is violent, and it is a natural occurrence. It is not man-made. A bhukampa, earthquake, is violent. Tornadoes, cyclones are violent. Floods are violent. The very origin of Srishti itself, if not for an action, and then imagine the laya when it has to violently involute. So I would think that the cyclical nature and the volatility is part of Srishti. We have to accept it. Love is the healing aspect. Love is universal. Love stays beyond. Love is the only Sat. Love is the only Sat which is to be understood as a constant which stays during Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, any time of it. But when we are talking about Srishti itself, once the process starts, dharma, adharma, they are going to kind of play a role here and there. As long as all these three gunas are going to play a role, I think it will be wishful thinking to expect that we will have a peace-loving humanity or peaceful existence without any turbulence at all. This is my way of understanding and accepting that we are designed right now to fulfill our duties given the complex nature of our lives and society around, and do the best that we can. And that is why I also say in my spiritual kind of discussions, our responsibility is to do what we can as per our own truth. It doesn't necessarily have to always be right. Right is not in our hands. It is to be decided by the karmic mechanism. do what is true according to who you are. So in that process, whether a certain measure ends up being peaceful or it becomes the opposite of it, you are just the instrument in the hands of destiny. As long as you practice that dispassionately, you have done your part, is how I understand. And that is why Sanatana Dharma's formulas are a lot more complex for this complex kind of society or the complex existence. So monodimensional or unidimensional peace, calmness, quietness, niceties, they look somehow minuscule once we understand the complexities that we see around, is how I understand. Pardon me if I did not articulate it well enough, but this is how I see it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was more interesting also. One last question, Dr. Ji.
Yeah.
As you rightly said, one should have a compassion, total contentment before approaching a friend and say, hi, how are you? And this is the way how you wanted to be as per the Gita, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
When as a patient, when I approach you and say, hi, doctor, how are you? I have seen your videos and I wanted this treatment. And you can assess me, oh, this fellow is buttering me. And I have not been approached properly and assessed properly. That is my hinge in my mind. How I should interpret Gita and your thought in that way if I approach you as a patient, if not today, tomorrow.
Again,
Hopefully,
if you use if let's say again, my formula is very simple. If you are using the word buttering, you are being dishonest. Be honest to yourself, but that honesty also needs to be able to kind of look at who you are. Let us say, for instance, you want to be devoted to the divine, but your sadhana hasn't reached that far yet. That is your honest appraisal. Oh, there's something lacking in me. What do I need to do? Oh, I need to do some adhyayana to understand who I am and where do I correct myself. And then you yet again make an effort and gradually you make progress. And you may reach that stage of paripakvata where you are now surrendered completely to the divine. So you will eventually reach there, but the process may take longer. All I'm going to say is the fallback mechanism for your approach to spirituality has to be how honest you are with yourself. As long as you do that, you are always going to be on the right track. You don't need to be right in the eyes of others. It doesn't have to be. All you need to do is, have I been honest enough? Just to kind of give a very ridiculous example, am I even as a thief, have I been honest to myself? I don't need to pretend to be that Payomika Vishakumbha. So being true to yourself is always going to be the first step towards understanding the cosmic truth. So that's the way again I explain that.
Thank you, Dr. Ji. Thank you very much.
Saugandhi garu. Saugandhi garu, you raised your hand.
Okay, my question is sort of probably silly, but you have given the qualities as a seeker, as a student, as an instrument, and all these.
Prashant garu.
Aren't they all sort of mutually exclusive? Like they fall into each other at some stage, but again, discretion is used. Whereas in the instrument doesn't use any discretion at all. But here, Arjuna has to use his discretion when to be the instrument and when to be the seeker, because he has to question also. He is not the instrument alone. So there is an element of Purushartha in all this, right? There is an effort on his part. So can you explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I can entirely agree with you. I mean, they don't need to be complementary to each other, whatever I have said, whether it's a student or an instrument and the friend. I am actually analyzing from my own perspective. I was reading through Bhagavad Gita and I understood that all these were roles somehow Krishna may have been looking for or Arjuna was able to display. So I thought I will present those here. When it comes to the instrument, I already kind of made a case that, for instance, robotic, if we are to be robotic, then we are devoid of emotions. But a robot may also not be the one to initiate the or utilize its viveka to follow certain course of action. But so we are not robotic. We have the beauty, one of the best antakaranas, which is the viveka. And the viveka is to be utilized, the buddhi is to be utilized for us to do the right things. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. That will be utilized. But Krishna is teaching us how to be a nimitta. And I want my approach to Bhagavad Gita is again very simple. I take it literally. I don't have ifs and buts about it. So I take it literally and I use it as a formula based kind of exercise. And for me, each formula actually has to be applied in our real life. So if Krishna is actually teaching me to be a nimitta and I practice it, how do I be a good nimitta? And I look at analogy of how if I was to be a pen or if I was to be a hammer, what would I be like? What would I feel like? What will be my approach like? So Bhagavad Gita is full of formulas, and these
Yeah, but
formulas
you're a
are
good student, so you're using it nicely. So the most important thing is you're a good student, so you are able to apply it in the right way. So I think there is an element of blessing involved in becoming the good student. So I use my discretion properly. Like again, bhakti comes in. So it's a very beautiful combination of the whole thing where the human intelligence is also given importance.
Absolutely. I agree with you entirely.
Very nicely
But
brought up by you.
yeah,
So
thank you very much. Yeah. Dr. Sujit Kumar.
Namaste, Mahoday.
Namaste.
Like when you talked about the bhakti of a bhakt to God, it is understood that it has to be unconditional. Fair enough. But you also, when you mentioned that the relation of a paripurna man with his surroundings, that he has no friends and he has no enemies. Now that is a state that is very contradictory, because you will have a bias in you for something, whether it is positive to God or negative to a person or whatever. You will have developed an understanding which will say whether it is dharma, adharma, or whether it is cause and action. So based on your understanding, you will always have that dvesha in your mind. So how is it possible for a person to be disconnected from that and have a dispassionate view of the world and have no friends and no enemies?
I need a lot more clarity in your question, because I know these are always difficult questions, right? Yeah. So the clarity I need is, why don't you rephrase again? Give it a try again.
Okay, let us take me as the example. Suppose, I come to a state which I'm currently not. I come to a state of unconditional bhakti to God, and I am supposed to be like at a elevated state where I'm paripurna. But I am still like Krishna or like Arjuna. I am a person with a lot of biases which are put into me.
Fair enough.
Something that I've acquired over.
I've understood. So what I'll do is I'll split it into two parts. One is about bhakti, the complete surrender is one you are asking. But because you're also mixing another aspect in the same question, which is how do I go beyond the dvandva, the dualities, without being biased? And bias is but natural for us as humans, is what you're basically saying. See, there are two components here, right? Forget about the bhakti part now, because I think first we need to handle the dvandva, the duality. Cosmic principle expects you to be dvandva atita. Why? Because you are that. You, the Atman, are dvandva atita. You don't need to be doing anything new. You just need to discover that Atman of you who is anyway that. So that is the cosmic principle itself. But in this samsarika jivana, you are obviously caught in the dualities. No matter how much we want to be dvandva atita, I'll still be, if I'm wearing, because it's a little cold here, I'm going to wear a jacket. And if it is hot, I'll be away from it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say that I have been able to manage to stay afloat beyond those two, or victory and defeat. But we can practice this as much as possible to finally realize that me who is beyond these two dualities. I'm unable to at this point of time because I'm dealing myself. I'm actually in the avidya of identifying me as everything else apart from the Atman. I know it may now suddenly turn abstract, but that's the whole point. Your bhakti now, when you say bhakti and surrender unconditional, who is that bhakti towards ultimately? It is towards you. It is towards you, the Atman. You are surrendering, you are actually realizing that you are the Atman, that Paramatma is nothing but you. So the day when you actually are able to understand and identify that you are that wisdom is the day when you actually will be able to look beyond all these things. And it is a journey. We have to keep in mind these principles as we make the journey. And we will be faltering on our way time and again, but that shouldn't stop us from making the journey. I hope I've been able to explain some part of what you have asked.
Thank you so much. Got the picture. I've got the picture.
Thank you. Okay, so let me proceed and complete my presentation, and then we can see what we have. So there's another comment here. In my view, compassion and empathy are the credentials that can make one overcome the dvandvas and become tranquil. Yeah, thank you so much. As I said, this is a great group. Thanks to Prabhakar Rao Garu, where I really kind of I myself learned a lot coming here. Thank you so much.
I just want to add one thing, Sastry Garu, if you permit me.
Yeah.
See, after all this Gita and everything, Krishna has to take the field before Bhishma.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason could be Arjuna did not come out of his affection towards his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that, Krishna has threatened him also. Do you think that I cannot do, because I have taken oath, I will not take the punishment, that I cannot do this? You are nothing, I can do everything. That's what he has shown to the Arjuna. If you don't face him properly, I will face him. So he has taken the instrument and got down. And Arjuna has to come down and again take his pardon and bring him back. So Krishna has not only educated him towards Gita and also threatened him finally
take care. If you don't do what I say, I will do it. I am capable of doing this. I don't mind crossing my limits of that I will not take these things. My principle is dharma rakshana. I will do it at any cost. That's what he has shown to the Arjuna as well as to all of us.
Yeah.
So dharma rakshana is the main and important consideration. All other things become subsidiary when we think of dharma rakshana.
Yeah.
All other promises, all those things will become secondary. That's what I want to just
Thank
add.
you so much. Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right. So let's just do a few more slides left, and then so I'm just switching gears a bit. So we're moving out from Arjuna to Gopikas. Again, I just picked this up. Not that I have read entire Bhagavatam. I'm still in the process. Vani Gunanukathane Shravanava Kathayam Hastau cha Karmasu Manastava Padayornaha Smrityam Shirastava Nivasa Jagat Praname Drishtihi Satam Darshanestu Bhavat Tanunam. So the essence is that I am the Atman. This birth is an opportunity to realize the truth and merge in it. And our tools, the body, mind, and senses, are to be engaged continuously in seeking that absolute truth and nothing else beyond it. Our emotions, thoughts, and actions are best spent on you constantly with love. We know very well that Gopikas actually represent the pinnacle of unconditional love. They're completely surrendered, they're oblivious of anything else. And and once again, it reiterates the message that love in itself is that bhakti, we can call it, whatever be the name that we attribute to it. Whether Mirabai, for instance, the kind of love she had showered on Sri Krishna. We need to be able to kind of raise above everything else to be able to feel it. And I actually can make a case, I can do another presentation where which can develop, I guess, not yet complete. I make a case that love is not just an emotion, but it is a cognition also. And which is that we can actually train ourselves to demonstrate love, even if it isn't felt emotionally. So if it happens emotionally, well, you're natural at it, but you can train yourself towards it as well. And similarly, again, from Gopika's approach, what we can learn from them. Ya dohane avahanane mathanopalopa pronke ankanar. I should have split it up. Ankanar bharu ruditokshanam gayanti cha enam anurakta dhiyo ashrukantayo dhanya vrajastriya urukrama chittayanaha. Okay, maybe I should have split it up. It's my mistake. So the ladies of Vraja are the most fortunate of women because with their minds fully attached to Krishna and their throats always choked up with tears, they constantly sing about him while milking the cows, winnowing grain, churning butter, gathering cow dung for fuel, riding on swings, taking care of their crying babies, sprinkling the ground with water, cleaning their houses, and so on. Whatever they've been doing, there is constant remembrance. They were always remembering Krishna in whatever they were doing. So love, constant remembrance, and a thoughtless state. Surely they would all be attaining moksha if they were able to kind of persistently practice these things. And one therefore has to ask the question, if only I practice love, if only I practice constant remembrance, I have not been able to go to a temple ever in my life, not to a church or not to anywhere, but I've just been able to constantly practice love towards the divine. Will I attain moksha? Naturally, yes. And how do we know? What's the proof? Again, we go back to Bhagavad Gita. If Bhagavad Gita, as I said, I take it literally. If every shloka I believe is independent in when it comes to certain shlokas. If I was to read Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvancha Mai Pashyati Tasyaham Na Pranashyami Sacha Me Na Pranashyati, if I read it, it means on its own that if I see everything as me, as the Atman, and I see everything in me, then I will never be lost for the divine. In that sense, all I need to do is practice that equanimity. I just need to see everything as the same, and if I keep practicing that love, I will attain moksha. So it is possible, but we need to practice. So Gopikas had no formal education nor knowledge of the scriptures. They were normal women rearing cows who developed unconditional love for Krishna. So logic and knowledge of the worldly nature can often be hindrances for such form of pure unconditional love. I actually come across so many people who are theoretically illiterate, but they are wise spiritually. And I'm sure we all came across. So this is again an important lesson we need to learn. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said Gopikas were Brahmajnanis. However, they really didn't need that knowledge to make them love Krishna. Some experienced Paramatma through Vatsalya, Sakhya Bhava, and Dasya Bhava. And we know the story of Krishna and his friend Kuchela. Ananya chetas satatam yomam smarata nityashaha tasyaham sulabah partha nityayuktasya yoginaha. O Partha, for those yogis who always think of me with exclusive devotion, I'm easily attainable because of their constant absorption in me. Again, it's a formula. All we need to do is have this constant manana. Sankhya Darshana by Ishwar Krishna mentions clearly about the need for us to have the constant manana of the jnana, that I am the Purusha. And that is very important. We can't just practice spirituality in isolations. It's not, as I said, therefore, jnanam vijnana sahitam. We should not be theoretical stupids. We need to be practical wise men. So we need to be practicing what we have learned. If we don't, we are nothing. So everything that is learned, every spiritual lesson that is learned has to be put into practice. Only then we will make progress. Otherwise, we will not make any progress. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamapayanti te tesham evanukam partha mahamajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavastaha jnana deepena bhasvata. Now he again gives us the lesson. Look, if you are of the right intent, then you are like that nice vessel for me. I will clean it up and I will prepare it myself. So to those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, now you can relate things. How does love alone help me to attain moksha? Because you are making the right start and I am preparing you. The rest of the work, I am doing it for you. How loving Paramatma is towards us. Everything, I believe there is one particular author who calls it cosmic conspiracy. Cosmic conspiracy is like, if you have the right intentions, everything will conspire in a way, it will help you to be in the right direction. So to those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge by which they can attain me. Out of compassion for them, I who dwell within their hearts destroy the darkness born of ignorance with the luminous lamp of knowledge. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna was eligible. I am eligible. You are eligible. We are all eligible. If Arjuna was eligible, why can't I be eligible? But I need to practice. So therefore, we all are eligible, as I said. Arjuna was a warrior. I'm a doctor. Somebody is a lawyer. Somebody is a farmer. Jati is not going to come in the way. Nothing is going to come in the way if I'm able to connect myself with the divine with true love. Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha. Namaste. Thank you all for giving me opportunity to do this. Open to questions or comments.
Okay,
Yes,
Purushottam garu.
yeah.
Yes, sir. I have a question, sir. The point is here, when Krishna has explained so much, and at the end of it, he has said, "Yadechasi tatha kuru," at Slokam 63. But in spite of that, why he should repeat again as Parashruti or something, Sarva Dharman Pratyajya Mamekam Shram Raja, etc. And until Arjuna has realized Nasto Moha Smriti Labdha, like this, ultimately he had to realize. So is it something like Krishna also had a doubt about Arjuna's getting convinced of all that after saying so much of in various forms? I just wanted to know from you, sir, why Krishna had to repeat this much at Sloka 64, 65, 66 and convince him again so that he will come out openly that Nasto Moha Smriti Labdha Tatra Sadha Mayachuta, etc. Can you please explain, sir?
Okay. I think looks like you are obviously very well versed because you are able to make those connections there in Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Because you asked, I'm having to think for an answer here, which is not the greatest way. But so your question is, why is Krishna having to repeat himself? That is not a surprising thing for me because as a Manava, as a Manushya, I'm always playing up with my mind and tools. They're always going to come play havoc. I'm realizing the beautiful cosmic truth. Yet my mind, the logic is always going to come up with some questions and doubts. So I'm not surprised in that sense. And I won't be surprised even after the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna still has some questions coming to his mind. That's going to happen. Until I'm dropped dead, until I have attained moksha, I'm assuming this will be a constant exercise. So for Krishna to repeat himself, in fact, you see in Bhagavad Gita that there is a lot of repetition at several stages. I see it as reinforcement rather than repetition. Now, the need for repetition is to reinforce the knowledge. So therefore, it's not a surprise to me in both aspects. Not that Krishna had doubt, but Krishna has no choice because he has given us all these tools to work with. The senses, the Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, the Antakarana, and the body, and this Maya Prapancha, all these are heavily inclined towards bhoga, keeping me entertained, forgetting who I am, that I am the Atman. And Krishna's presence, Krishna's discourse, or my efforts to understand who I am, they will be done. They will give the beautiful moments of insights, or the samadhi sthiti is attained for a little while, only to vanish away into thin air after this Maya Prapancha takes over. So therefore, it's not surprising to me.
I was looking at it as even in the Dwapar Yuga, the mindset was not much different than what we have in Kali Yuga. Even with Pratyaksha, Pramanas also we doubt very much people, and we don't believe suddenly. Even our own friends also we suspect, and husbands suspect wife, wife suspecting, all that mentality. It's not much difference even with that Yuga, Dwapar Yuga also. That's what I was thinking at Arjuna's mind at this stage.
Yeah, maybe, but that's something I know of. I hear of that. According to the Yuga, they would have been more kind of evolved then.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on that, but
Thank you for the interaction, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add here, Shastri garu.
Yes, please. Yeah.
It's nothing wrong in doubting Arjuna also, because Arjuna is not a normal person. Arjuna knows his duties towards his parents. He knows his duties to grandfather. He has got that duties also, as well as he is a Kshatriya. Kshatriya duties also there. So both will always there working in his mind. That he knows, Krishna knows that he is working in mind. That way he is entering into moha. Otherwise that moha will not have come at all. Arjuna came to fight and establish dharma only. He came to be a Kshatriya only and came there to do that work. But still he went into moha. But even then, his duties towards his elders still remains in his mind. He has got that duty. He is duty-bound person. Arjuna also is a very knowledgeable person, duty-bound person, Gnani also. Out of all this, see, he could not fight with Bhishma. Arjuna is not a normal warrior. He convinced Sakshat Shiva and took Pasupatastram. If he wants, he could have cut down his hands of his grandfather. He could not do it. Just like Rama cut down the hands of Kumbhakarna before killing him, though Vishnu could not be killed, but his hands and limbs would have been cut down. But Arjuna did not do that. He's still having that respect towards his grandfather and gurus. And if he doesn't have that, he loses some of the qualities of a gnani again. As a junior, as a grandson, as a shishya, he has got some duties. He has fulfilled that duties also, as well as he has fulfilled the dictums given by Krishna also. That is
that's true. Yeah, I understand, sir, that he had a both ways he was thinking as a lawyer.
Krishna knows this.
Yes.
That's why he has repeated once again. I know you have got this dilemma in your mind. I know that you're responsible for your duties. That's why you may have some weakness at some point.
The moha, that moha he has lost.
Don't bother about those things. Leave everything on me. I'm here to take out of all those sins which you commit by disobeying your grandfather or guru. That's
Thank
what is repeated again. He knows very well that Arjuna has got that weakness. Or not weakness, as a responsibility. I don't call it as a weakness, as a duty towards his elders.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now I think we, Subhinan garu.
Sir, namaste. Please excuse me if I did not get the thing rightly. But the thing is, I have a very basic question. Like, sometime back when we were discussing, there was a point mentioned that, the love can even be expressed without attaching the emotion to it. I did not get it quite right, actually. Why? Because I feel that, without emotion, love can never be expressed. If at all, if it is being expressed, it ends up as an artificial thing, something like, what we in earlier times, we used to say the plastic smile of the air hostesses and all that. Can you please explain that, sir?
Okay. As I said, this is work in progress. I am researching into it. I'll explain to you. I'll give you a scenario and you tell me what we call it with. Okay. So let's say there are a set of parents and there is a child. The child, see, I'm a psychiatrist. I see these situations quite often, and so it's not unusual for what I see. So the child had been literally traumatized through childhood for having not been wanted, so emotionally abused, physically abused, to the extent that the child has aversion towards the parents, dislike, a hatred, or the very mention of their names is going to kind of make them feel a sense of hatred. Now imagine that this child has grown into an adult and the parents are now elderly, in need of being taken care of physically. Now this child is spiritually inclined, she understands the dharma, she or he understands the dharma that everyone, samadrishti, yomam pashyati sarvatra, just as I mentioned earlier. I am the Atman, everyone is an Atman. My father and mother are also Atmans. And which means that I shouldn't be seeing them with their external bodies or the external deeds that they have done. Everyone is an Atman. So I need to treat them all the same. Now, let's imagine that this lady decides to return back, take care of her parents. Both of them have been badly abusive in her childhood and she has been hating them. Do you expect her to shower emotional love, joy, and so on in fulfilling her responsibility for them? Or has she developed love from a cognitive point of view where she has internalized that this is through jnana that she has developed the love, not through emotion? The jnana says that they are the Atman just like I am. They need to be treated the same as I treat myself. If they are in need of help, I treat them just as I would treat myself if I'm in need of help. So the jnana is the one which has inculcated the idea of love in going there and fulfilling her responsibility unconditionally. So for me, that is love, which is not necessarily associated or coming from an emotional point of view. It is spiritual love. And spiritual love is actually constant, or the true satya, compared to the emotional love. Emotional love possibly is going to be conditional, is how I look at it. Am I able to explain that?
Yeah. Thank you.
That is like duty, right? What she does is.
Well, you may call it so. I call it love. Imagine it this way. If Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvancha Mai Pashyati is love, Gopikas are, you can say that there is a swardha there. They are rejoicing the love. That is an emotional love. But I'm not certain that that is the paripakwata of love. That is only part of it. For me, personally speaking, if the cognitive, the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge that everyone is the same and therefore need to be treated is another form of love. I'm not saying that's the only way. As I said earlier, if emotionally I'm able to connect, that is a natural blossom of love. It's like the beauty of it is effervescent. It just comes like that. So I'm saying that if it is not possible that way, you can still cognitively process love and also exercise that is what I'm saying. I'm giving you a different approach of how love can be practiced from a cognitive perspective through the knowledge that we gain. So I'm giving you two choices, not one.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sastry Garu. I think today we had a good amount of psychiatrist taste of your profession with the help of Bhagavad Gita. I think that is the way to get over this human crisis. Physically, for physical health, probably you need to have yoga, and for mental health, probably we need to have Bhagavad Gita and explained by people like you. Thank you so much. And now we will go for Prarthana and then Janaganamana. Saugandhiji, are you there?
ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अदनाः सदनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतं सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान्मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ स्वस्ति।
ధన్యవాదములండి భగవంతి గారు. Now let us all stand up and then recite national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्ज्वल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आयुष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे। जय हिंद।
जय हिंद। जय हिंद। जय श्री राम। जय श्री राम।
जय श्री राम।